The Coven common room was bustling, and tension ran through me as I rapidly assessed every single person there. I analysed their body language and relaxed a little when I saw that no one was showing an iota of aggression right now. It could change in a flash, of course, but I was always ready for that. Amber cleared her throat delicately. Some of her witches looked up, but others continued about their business. I narrowed my eyes and let my lips twist in a half snarl. The ones looking towards us hastily nudged their neighbours, and the room fell gratifyingly silent. "Attention, please," she started. "I have a brief announcement to make. Due to other commitments, I am temporarily seconding my title as Coven Mother to Cassandra Scholes. She'll be here with her assistant Becky until such a time as my other project is concluded. Please welcome them both. That will be all." Whispers broke out. One of the acolytes, Sarah Bellington, 18, blonde, vapid, said to her friend Rhea Plath, 19, brunette, smart, defiant, "I bet her project is hunting the Black Witch." I let nothing show on my face. As her bodyguard, it was my duty to keep Amber safe, and that included guarding her secrets. She was developing an important potion. I didn't need to know more than that, and Bellington and Plath needed to know even less. Amber ignored the chatter, jerked her head at Oscar, and started towards the door. Apparently, we were on the move. Again. Oscar met my gaze. With a slight movement of my head, I indicated that he should take point, and I would follow closely behind the principal. He led us down the Coven stairs, preferably to a lift where we could get stuck or attacked, to the car park below. Lights blazed on as motion sensors detected us, and I changed my eyes to eagle so that they had no problem adjusting to the brightness. We couldn't allow even a moment of vulnerability. Oscar beeped the car open and held the door for Amber. She slid in whilst I used a mirror to check under the car for any evidence of tampering. Seeing none, I climbed in next to her. Oscar's a qualified security chauffeur, complete with an SIA close protection license, as well as defensive and evasive driving qualifications. He waited, eyes fixed on the rearview mirror, until I gave him a nod to move out. The car engine roared as we headed out of the garage. It now had bulletproof bodywork and glass, though Amber didn't need to know I'd upgraded the vehicle. Just because we were in the United Kingdom didn't mean our enemies didn't have access to a plethora of weapons, including guns. Only a fool doesn't prepare for every eventuality simply because it's low probability. In the mirror, I saw Oscar frown and raise an eyebrow in question. "Black Merc," he breathed softly. He spoke so quietly that no human ears could have heard him over the rumble of the engine. He was clearly unwilling to worry the principal, who was rooting around in her black bag with a small frown of her own. I turned slightly in my seat and identified the Merc 2 cars back. Oscar took an exit and we both watched as it followed us. Tension rolled through me and my shift sprang closer to the surface. I held the magic there, ready and able. Oscar took a left. This time the black Merc didn't follow, and we both relaxed slightly, though not completely. Catching Oscar's eyes again in the rearview mirror, I made a circle around sign. He nodded and took another left turn. We drove for a few extra minutes, taking a number of diversions this way and that. Finally, certain we weren't being followed, we continued to our destination. We pulled up in front of a plain 3-story red brick building. The sign outside indicated it was a doctor's clinic. Considering Amber had a myriad of healing potions available to her, I had no idea why we were there. A common doctor was as helpful to her as a blunt sword to a samurai. I moved out of the car first, opened the door, and provided additional cover with my body, as Amber climbed out. She withdrew a bolt of fabric from her surprisingly large bag and tossed it over her shoulders, then pulled up the hood of the cloak and settled it over her gorgeous red tresses. In an instant she was gone from view, her face hidden by shadows so dark it felt like even a torch wouldn't penetrate them. What were we doing here that she needed a full disguise? My stomach tightened in anticipation, and adrenaline surged at a potential threat. I called my shift to my hands, claws a mere heartbeat away. Oscar was still sitting in the car, and I met his gaze. His was knowing, unconcerned, and his body was relaxed, which reassured me a little. He was tapping the steering wheel lightly with 2 fingers. The car engine was still running, the vehicle idling at the curb. He would guard it, ready to make a quick getaway if it were needed. I covered Amber as we moved inwards. Without Oscar to take point, I swapped our positions once we were inside the building. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we were in a reception area. It was packed, but not with common realmers, as I'd expected in a doctor's surgery. Those who were waiting were all injured other realmers. That was when I worked out what was going on. Amber was running some sort of healing clinic, though why she needed the cloak was beyond me. I glared at the noisy occupants, cataloguing their species and visible injuries. I gave the injured imp a respectful nod, and a little more space as we skirted around him. He returned the nod solemnly, but his pale skin revealed his illness. An imp's tail is a contrary thing that often whips around by itself, and it was all the more notable then that his tail had been removed. Without it, he would die. I made sure any sympathy I felt wasn't shown on my face. He wouldn't want my pity, though he had it all the same. The room had fallen silent as the patients clocked me standing next to their witchy saviour. "It's fine," Amber assured them hurriedly. "He's just a friend. He's helping me tonight." The heavy silence remained, and I was glad of my poker face. Though Amber was lying, it had stirred something in me to be called her friend. I'm not often accused of wishful thinking, but there it was. "Good evening, Ellie," the receptionist greeted Amber. I kept my face impassive. A fake name, too. "Good evening, Janice," Amber replied briskly. "Give me 2 minutes, then send the first one in." I followed her closely, but gently stopped her before she opened the door. A quick sweep of the room showed it was empty, and I ushered her in. She bustled around the office and started pulling supplies from her tote bag. I was beginning to suspect that the bag was enchanted. It certainly seemed to have a lot of room in it, even though I'd never seen it bulging, no matter what she'd pulled out of it. I drew the blinds on the window, and Amber glared at me as the room dimmed. I suppressed the smile that wanted to break out and calmly turned on the lights. I flicked every switch so the room was as bright as possible, though there would still be shadows for vampires to phase through. I coiled my coaxing power, raising it up within me, then casually leaned back against the walls. My coaxing power crooned to the runes hidden on them, making them visible to me. There is a reason I'm recognized as one of the deadliest assassins in the world. No wards can truly stop me. They can temporarily hinder me, yes, but not stop me. I noted with relief that the anti-vampire runes on the walls were vibrating with power. They were only a week or 2 old at most. There was a sharp rap at the door. I tensed, pushed off the wall, and moved close to Amber. I drew my shift to the surface, letting it prickle on my skin. In an instant, my wings could snap out and wrap around her. The receptionist ducked her head in, and then, with a small smile, she opened the door for the injured imp. "Come on in," Amber said softly to the small creature. It was the gentlest tone I'd ever heard her use. It was nice to know that she was capable of such softness. The imp came in, and the receptionist left, quietly closing the door. "You're here for your tail?" Amber asked. He nodded forlornly. "It got chopped off by a vampire. He enchanted me so I couldn't move. Then he said he was going to eat it." His voice was shrill with fury. "He laughed! Bastard! Can you get up onto the table, or shall I help you?" Amber's voice was even. "I got no money," he stated, argumentatively. "The clinic is free," Amber replied. "Shall I assist you?" The clinic was free. I battled to keep the shock from my features. If there was one thing you can say about witches, it is that nothing is ever free. They say they even charge for the air in the covens. Amber was running a free clinic. I clenched my jaw. It would have been helpful to have known that she was running an underground, highly illegal clinic. "Yeah, go on. I'd like a ride on you." The imp gave her an exaggerated leer. I let out a low growl that I knew he would hear. He blanched and ducked his head. Amber put her hand down to the ground and let him climb onto it, then gently lifted him until he could walk onto the table. She examined him carefully. She was aiming for impassive, but the white of her knuckles showed her distress. Can you fix it, witch? The imp's tone was laced with hope. If anyone could fix it, it was Amber bloody Delia. She's one of the best healers around. Best anything around, really. She can make potions, create complex runes, and carry out healing as easily as others breathe. She'd worked damned hard for her skills and success, and I appreciated the grit she'd shown in getting to where she was in life. I can, Amber said confidently. The little imp's eyes welled with unshed tears. I fixed my eyes on his clawed feet, giving him a little privacy, but not taking my eyes off him. Injured or not, he was an imp, and I doubted Amber fully realized the danger he posed. I'd like to take a picture of the injury, if I may, she said. He nodded, and she took one on her phone, then selected a tiny paintbrush. I'll need you to lie here and stay still, she told him. He lay down, and Amber pulled out a mounted magnifying glass and a desk light. I've been around runes my whole life, and I know far more about the witches and their practices than they would be comfortable with. Even so, watching Amber Delia paint on the tiniest, most intricate runework that I had seen in 2 centuries was truly impressive. Finally, she cleared her throat. This will be uncomfortable, she warned him. The imp visibly braced himself, and the runes lit up. He gave a strangled scream, but in moments, his tail began to grow from the ruined, bloody stump. It wasn't a quick process. It took 9.5 minutes before it had grown right to its forked end. When it was done, he sobbed, clutching his tail as the deadly point finally regrew. Amber bustled about cleaning paintbrushes, clearly uncomfortable with his tears and overwhelming joy. One last thing, if I may, she asked. Anything, lady, anything. I want to scry the vampire from your mind. It'll leave you with a headache for a day or so, and one that magic can't get rid of. But I will see justice done. Do you agree? Yeah, do it, lady. Get that bitey bugger for me, he said fiercely. Amber poured some water into a bowl and painted a tiny rune on his head. This will hurt, she warned again. Picture the vampire did this to you. Then touch the water's surface. Teeth flashing, the face of a vampire filled the bowl. I took note of it. It wasn't a vampire I knew, which meant he was newly turned, because I recognize all of the older ones. Well, as much as anyone can, because vampires control the age at which they present themselves. The imp bitched about the inevitable headache, and Amber fussed over him, giving him common realm medicine that would take the edge off. The imp gladly took the foreign medicine and downed it in one. When he'd finished the disgusting fizzy tonic, he climbed up Amber's body to rest on her shoulder. There was nothing in his body language that said anything but gratitude, so I let him do it. Nonetheless, I shifted my right hand into talons and widened my stance so I could tear him in 2 in a second if he dared try anything under my watchful gaze. With a glare at me, he leaned in and whispered quietly to Amber. If you need help escaping the griffin, just cough, and I'll cause a distraction. I made sure he saw the flat glare I sent him. He grinned back, impish and unrepentant. Then he winked at me. I should have killed him for that impertinence alone. Amber's tone was warm. I'm fine, thank you, she assured him. He's looking after me. Is he? That's good. The imp leaned closer and pressed a soft kiss to her cheek that was hidden in the shadow of her hood. I let out a subsonic growl again, and he looked at me, eyes laughing. Witchstone is Ellie. I can't see your face, but I'll give you my kiss. If ever you have need of me, press your fingers to it and I'll come to you. You may call me Frogmatch. 2 rules, no names, and the clinic is free, Amber repeated firmly, exasperation in her tone. You do not need to give me anything, even your name. I resisted the urge to amend the 1st and 2nd rules of Fight Club. You do not talk about the clinic. Perhaps not, but I want to give it. It's my gift to you, so mote it be, Frogmatch said. So mote it be, Amber agreed softly. The imp grinned again at her before swinging down. He gave a triumphant yowl as he ran under the door, out of the room, and away. The little menace was back to full health. The other realm better watch out, I thought wryly. That creature no doubt had vengeance in mind. The intercom buzzed. Next? The receptionist asked. Next, Amber agreed. Amber worked until the clinic was empty, and so was she. Dark circles had appeared under her eyes, and I had to resist the urge to grab her, chuck her on my back, and fly her to food and rest. Her hands were cramping and in agony, and the crease on her forehead told me she was brewing a bitch of a headache. I tried to keep all emotion out of my voice when I asked, "What's more pressing, your need for food or your pain?" She glared at me. "I'm not in pain," she lied flatly. "Your hand has been cramping for the last half an hour," I pointed out. She waved it away. "It's fine. It happens. Food. Oscar will have something for us." It was 1 a.m., and darkness had long since fallen. I covered her with my body as she locked up the clinic. She let the receptionist go a solid hour earlier. The car was idling at the curb, a foot further back than it had been when we entered the clinic, indicating that Amber's assumption about what Oscar had been doing was likely correct. I hoped she was right, because I'd heard her tummy grumble on 3 separate occasions. As old as she was, apparently she had yet to learn to take care of herself properly. Thankfully, as we slid into the car, we were greeted by the scent of food. "Rice box?" Amber asked happily. "Your favourite," Oscar confirmed, passing us both a little cardboard box and a plastic spoon. We dug in and made short work of the hot dinner. I'd need more calories before I could rest, but it was a good start. Amber said hesitantly. "How are you on the killing front?" I tamped down the laugh that wanted to escape. "Are you concerned?" "No, but if you do need to go hunting, I have a vampire that's pissed me off," she joked. "I'm good. I'm more than 200 years old, so I have my urges under control." "Okay, well, tell me if that changes," she ordered firmly. I studied her. I didn't think she was joking as much as she thought she was. "Do you want me to kill the vampire for you?" I asked. She hesitated minutely before she responded. "No, thank you. Wokeshire will deal with him." The drive back to the Coven Tower went without incident. We bade Oscar good night and continued up to Amber's flat. She hesitated before she opened the door to her bedroom. Only the night before, someone had planted a bomb in there, setting the whole room on fire. Now, though, Oscar had assured her she'd be pleasantly surprised. She was obviously still apprehensive. She opened the door and gasped. I was instantly behind her, claws drawn and ready, but she was only gasping at the beauty of the room. I had to admit that Jeb had done a good job. Apparently interior design was his forte. It clearly wasn't flirtation, since Amber was so woefully ignorant of his interest in her. She wandered around the room, touching cushions and curtains, and flicking on lights. Her face was lit up in wonder. She looked unguarded and beautiful. I was glad that it was me who got to see her like this, rather than the man responsible for her happiness. I vowed to myself that I would get her to look at me like that one day. We had a lot of ground to cover first, but I'm a patient man. "He likes you," I said aloud. "What?" "Jeb." She looked at me blankly. "He's a team player." She wasn't getting the point, but I wasn't going to labour it. I planted the seed, and hopefully it would open her eyes to Jeb's true motivation. He wasn't just a kind soul, as he tried to project, but a man who wanted to get into her knickers. I could relate. "Do you want a cup of tea before bed?" she asked abruptly. "Yes." I followed her into the kitchen, where she busied herself with the ritual of making a cup of tea. Her cupboards had a shiny finish, and I watched her face reflected in them. She smirked to herself before she opened the door and selected a mug for me. "Milk? Sugar?" she called. "Little milk, not a lot. No sugar." As she was making the brew, she paused suddenly with unnatural stillness. I couldn't see tears in the reflection, but I saw her mouth turn down. The grief emanating from her was palpable, and a shot of guilt stabbed me. She was thinking about Jake. Amber took a few calming breaths before turning and carrying over the mugs. Because her grief prickled on my skin, I decided to try and make her smile. She deserved some damn happiness. I read the mug she had carefully selected for me. "I've washed my fanny in this mug." "Impressive flexibility," I joked lightly, taking a sip. The smile I'd hoped for didn't appear. Instead, she looked vaguely disappointed. and I realised she'd hoped for outrage. I'd have to offer some up next time. Hopefully that would make her smile instead. "Did you order extra security for my flat?" she asked abruptly. I grimaced. "Yes, I have a man coming to fit the system tomorrow. A day too late." "We're not dead, so tomorrow is fine." She sipped her tea and silence fell. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was heavy with all the secrets between us. At least, it was for me. I could unpeel one of them, however. "The clinic," I started. "What about it?" she asked abrasively, eyes glowering. She was prepared for me to give her a dressing down over it. "You help all of those people for free." "Not everyone can afford to pay," she snapped. "The exorbitant prices I charge the rest of the time cover the cost of running it." I nodded. I didn't tell her that her work at the free clinic had forever shattered the image I'd cultivated of her. No longer could I see her as Amber Bloody Delia, the model witch. She was more than that because she had a heart. And wasn't that an ill omen for mine? We took turns washing and preparing for bed. I raided her cupboards for more food while she got ready. I wasn't happy to let her out of my sight for long, especially with the bomb incident fresh in both of our minds, and she reluctantly agreed to share the new bed with me. Amber had climbed in before me, pulling the sheets tightly up to her neck. I resisted the urge to point out that she didn't have anything I hadn't already seen several hundred times over the last 2 centuries. Still, the vision of that shapely leg sliding under the covers was burned into my brain. I tried to banish the image without success. I couldn't afford any distractions. Amber tossed and turned as if the sheets were made of wire brush. She must have been exhausted, but she couldn't relax in a place where there'd been a bomb only 24 hours before. I couldn't sleep until she did. After an hour of tossing and turning, I sat up, grabbed my pillow, and stood out of the bed. I threw the pillow under the bed, smugly satisfied as it landed precisely under her body. Score. I rolled under the bed, wishing Jeb had put a bloody rug there. "What are you doing?" she asked shrilly. "I'm sleeping under your bed," I said calmly. "Why?" "Because then you'll know there's no bomb there." "Go to sleep, Amber." She stopped fidgeting straight away. In seconds, her breathing deepened and evened out, and she was asleep. I waited another 15 minutes to make sure she really was in Morpheus's clutches, then rolled out of the bed and patrolled the flat one last time. I checked everything while she was using the bathroom, but I'm a creature of habit, and I always prefer one last check before bed. I checked every window and door. As I looked outside, I saw Fehu perched on the balcony. "You're up, Raven," I said to him through the glass. "I'm out." He gave a firm craw and spread his wings, fluttering and resettling them. He was on guard now, so I could sleep. I gave him a nod of thanks and went back to the bedroom, where my hard wooden bed awaited. I'd had worse, and I'd endure far more if it would make Amber happy.